That's me, Blooper Surfing Big Daddy, Bloopy for short. You think I should step on that switch over there?
You know, I'm not entirely sure why they went with this giant pimple design for their red coin switches. Oh god, I think it's spreading. Bloopy, please, you're the only one who can stop it! Thanks, Bloopy. Aside from Analog L, whose only feature is to slowly center the camera behind Mario as he moves around, the Z button takes the cake for the most useless button for Sunshine speedrunning. It's basically a secondary pause feature with a map screen that provides information on the amount of stuff you've collected. But unlike normal pausing, the Z menu can still be brought up while Mario's airborne. Except you can't exit area from this screen to, save yourself. I suppose you could pause buffer a timing-based trick like Yoshi Skip, but every pause takes so long, you're probably better off just learning the hover timing. Well, the oh-so-useless Z button would be instrumental to finding a glitch that is largely banned by the SMS speedrun community. We're talking about something powerful enough to break every single level with a red coin switch. The community had some concerns of the impending degeneracy this glitch would allow for. Sometimes, even for the speedrunners that are the hungriest to break games wide open, ignorance is bliss.
But what's the big deal? I mean, some free world records are quite literally up for grabs. Well, before I get to that, let me give you the history of the only level,
other than airstrip red coins, which, not gonna lie, I totally forgot about,
where the usage of this glitch is actually allowed. Ricco Harbor Episode 6, Red Coins on the Water.
Now, as you would imagine, the goal of this level is to collect red coins on the water. Rather than a test of speed like the Blooper Surfing Safari, this is more of a test of precision and, almost inevitably, recovery. Speed is still a factor to some extent, given the timer, but it's super lenient once you figure out the location of every coin. In the early history of levels that have an in-game timer, no one was more ahead of the curve than Pack Attack in 2005. Ricco 6 was no exception. He hits the switch, then jump dives onto the nearest green blooper. Each color has unique attributes, and my previous video explains why you always want to pick the green one. After threading the needle, he quickly knocks out the first 4 coins. Before committing to the harbor's other half, he needs to grab the coin beneath this arrow platform. To accomplish that, he sharply turned around this ship before sharply turning again to grab the coin that I just talked about. There it is, he grabbed it. The next coin is the only one that requires a jump, and while jumping over this yellow sub is an option, it's barely slower than going around. Airtime should typically be avoided, even if it means going slightly out of your way. Weaving between these pillars is what a little baby boy would do, so he instead pulls off this risky maneuver. From there, it's a straight shot to the final coin. The goal of speedrunning is to get the lowest time possible, but that couldn't possibly be further from the truth with these red coin timers. You want the highest time possible. Alright, let me level with you. Not much would change in Ricco 6 for the next while. That's less than a 0.4 second improvement, a difference of 11 frames in 16 years. Ricco Episode 6 is kinda like Episode 2 in that there's bloopers, but if I had to differentiate them, Ricco 6 is more schlines but less schmovements, if that makes any sense. There's not much room for blooper surfing optimization. The most you can really improve is the tightness of each turn and the grabbing of each coin. Notice how the example on the right grabs the coin at the very edge of Mario's hitbox. That'll save a tiny amount over a slightly wider turn that grabs the coin more directly. Side note, regardless of which direction Mario's tilted during a turn, the hitbox will always remain directly over the blooper. Turning a bit too late can result in Mario passing directly through a coin. The majority of Sunshine's depth comes from all the movement options available to the combination of Mario and F.L.U.D. And the extent of Mario's movements in this level is this. A simple series of inputs that should sound familiar to all the Ocarina of Time runners out there.
So yeah, the history of this level is really interesting in that it's really uninteresting until something absolutely bonkers would happen.
Bad start. Messed up my reset inputs. Accidentally got a jump dive before starting the in-game timer? Nokidoki is a highly respected figure in the SMS community, contributing a ton of valuable knowledge over the years. This is all his fault.
Earlier in the video, I mentioned how this glitch is largely banned, and I phrased it that way because it's not like it's illegal or anything. I mean, it is a single player game you can play however the hell you want. You're not gonna go to jail for this. Sorry Mario, I guess that was too soon.
This glitch is only banned on the main page of the IL spreadsheets. That's where a separate tab of free ILs comes into play. These allow for things that fall outside the rules of standard competitive ILs, such as using F.L.U.D. in the normally F.L.U.D-less secret stages. How about the absurdity of Pianta 5 secrets using the Super Hover nozzle from Noki 3? A more tame example is what's known as setup ILs. In Serena 2 Reds, you can break a few bricks before hitting the button to create a far more favorable layout before the timer starts. To prevent how bizarre and unfun it would make these levels, everyone agreed to place text box storage into this bucket. This way, the option to submit times using this glitch is available while the records performed by traditional means remain intact. In truth, the glitch itself is pretty simple to pull off. Press the Z button the moment Mario ground pounds the switch, close this menu, then time a jump within a 5-frame window. Doesn't seem too bad, right? Well, imagine grinding an IL, doing hundreds of attempts. Imagine doing this precise setup, plus hovering to wherever the first coin is located on just the right cycle, which is a speedrun term for reaching moving elements of a stage like these platforms at just the right time, every single attempt. What if reaching the first coin requires a tedious chain of Pianta bounces or positioning a durian each time to bounce off of? How about Bianco 6, which due to its verticality is best done with the rocket nozzle? It's actually possible to charge a rocket until it nearly goes off, perform text box storage, then rocket to the platform where the first coin is located. I mean, hey, the free ILs page exists if you really want to try this. Honestly, I think Despin put it best. It's kinda obvious this won't make these levels any more fun. And we can make whatever rules we want. But remember, Ricco 6 and Airstrip Reds is the one exception to this ban. You see, this level has two separate categories for non-RTA and RTA routes. The RTA route reflects what is best to do in a full game speedrun, whether it's the old school clockwise order or the modern counterclockwise order. The timeline I was covering earlier reflects the non-RTA route, which aims for the best in-game time possible with no regard to where Mario ends up. In other words, the Ricco 6 IL in its purest form. So why is the red coin text box storage trick thing allowed here anyway? Well, it's called the non-RTA category, which sounds vague enough to allow anything barring straight up cheating. Also want to point out that Airstrip Reds has a similar category split. And I am shutting up about Airstrip Reds right about now. More importantly, this level has the least egregious setup with this glitch by far. All you do is store the text box, then hover right next to a blooper, and you're all set. Avoid actually touching the blooper though, because then, yeah, don't do that. Not only do you skip the hover dive rollouts, but you can start the timer from the other green blooper, which is closer to the first red coin. The initial boom from this new glitch resulted in a 138.68 by Nokidoki, fittingly enough. This category didn't see much attention from that point onward, but on September 3rd of 2023, the record was claimed by J-Cool with a 138.75. And then it was very recently discovered the glitch can be done using normal pausing. Yeah, seriously. The Z button is pointless once again. Oh look, Nokidoki got the record back on September 13th, showcasing just that. How convenient. Though, despite the start button speeding up this setup, the Z button is still the recommended way of doing this glitch. Normally, the game doesn't allow you to pause in midair unless you have the free pause practice code. I've delved into it in previous videos, but when you do ILs in this game, there are a ton of codes you can load up using software like Gecko or Nintendo, or even just straight up Dolphin Emulator. These include things like fast text, or the Shine Gets in-game timer, or the quarter frame timer, which will eventually obsolete the Shine Get timer soon, TM. In the first example that I showed, I actually did an illegal midair pause. Even though the free pause code exists, it's merely for the convenience of restarting a level instead of waiting for Mario to die every time. Mid-air pausing during an attempt is strictly banned, as it gives a distinct time-saving advantage in levels like Pianta 1, which wouldn't normally be possible. Depending on both your ground pounds timing and Mario's positioning over the button, there can be 1 or 2 frames where Mario is still airborne. And I'm not going to explain why this variation happens, but it rhymes with quarter frames. Oh wait, I should have picked a different letter. In short, use the Z button because you can still do it during these initial mid-air frames. By the way, this footage is from another record that was set on September 23rd. J. Cool wasn't going to give up so easily, and with a final time of 138.82, he surpassed his former 2016 record by exactly 1 second. But it turns out the strangely recent competition over Ricco 6 would continue, as the very next day, Noki Doki achieved this run. So get this, right? Blooperless is fantastic in Ricco Harbor Episode 2. It was never good in Ricco 6 until, checks watch, September 26th, 2023 at 9:09 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, intuitively, you'd think the turbo nozzle might be good for this level, but it's really not because every coin is just out of reach unless Mario jumps from the water. Not only does every jump slow you down, but it means that you can't simply turn into a coin like you could while blooper surfing. Well, our boy J. Cool literally just invented a blooperless route that allows for a better in-game time. First thing I should note is that you don't unlock the turbo nozzle in Ricco Harbor until episode 7. However, once you do unlock it, it does become available in episode 6. The route starts off with everyone's favorite glitch before jump diving into the water. As long as Mario stays in the water and doesn't stand on solid ground, the text box will continue to be stored. After meticulously waiting for the proper crane cycle, there's that word again, he performs a turbo spin jump from the water onto this moving platform. Before landing, however, he inputs a Y-turn ground pounds to face directly where the first coin will spawn. The text box finally comes out, and after a short hop to build up turbocharge, he blasts directly into the first coin, formerly the 5th coin. Up next is an extremely niche mechanic. Something I didn't mention before is that he stored the Y camera by timing a Y button press right before the moment his turbo nozzle went off. As he approaches the next coin, he turns the camera in the direction of his intended jump. Then, by simply inputting a spin jump, the previously stored Y camera takes effect and turns Mario on a dime. The same jump conveniently reaches the 3rd coin as well. The next 2 coins are also combined into one jump. Obviously, a jump is needed where the blooper would need to jump anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But he has to get creative with the next coin. He does. Get creative, that is. With a tight turn around this pole into a jump cleanly over the rocket nozzle platform. Lastly, he times a jump as late as possible into the final coin. Props to J. Cool for discovering this route, and considering this run only took him 20 minutes of attempts, I'm certain there are more improvements to come. But I've had to amend this video 4 times now, and I really just want to upload this, so please stop improving this for the next few days, thanks. Now, this is interesting, right? If anything, it's a perfect case study on the sheer potential of this text box storage exploit. Even for a level as seemingly simple as Ricco 6, it opened up a world of possibilities because a giant body of water allows you to start the timer from basically anywhere. Has this ever happened to you? You successfully collect the 8 red coins before the timer runs out, and then when you go to collect the shine, you instead land on another blooper? Then you eventually turn around and jump again, only to land on another blooper? And this just keeps on happening until there's no more bloopers to land on? Then you somehow miss for a 6th time in a row, and the whole blooper population and Mario go extinct? Does it happen to you?
Then I've got a solution, 4 solutions to your problem. Although one of these is kind of a gimmick, but more on that later.
The first way is by jumping on this parasol. Honestly, this is probably all you need to know, but here are some other ways. The second way is by crashing into a pianta. Maybe even lands on a pianta, I don't care. The third way is by running into a nozzle upgrade and pressing the A button at the same time. It's recommended that you mash the A button so that timing is no longer a factor. This is actually the method that's used in the Ricco 6 100 coin route. After all, the rest of those coins aren't going to collect themselves, Sid. The fourth way is to jump directly into the sloped part of the ship, which will then zip Mario up to this flat upper section. Then jump again at the end of this surface and grab this candy cane. Keep in mind that the candy cane needs to be on the correct cycle for it to even be reachable. This is the gimmick one, if you couldn't already tell. Now as for the RTA route, the current record is a 134.18 by Arlie Nadja, and has remained untied for well over 3 years. Of course, this category includes the standard button to blooper movements, because that's what you would do in a full game run. Notable sections of this record include the super clean grab of the 5th coin, the cheeky grab of the 6th coin I don't think anyone would risk during any percents, instead opting for the much safer weave between the pillars, and finally some tight jumps for the 7th coin then going over the sub.
As a final pro tip, heed this warning from a veteran speedrunner.
Casual 31? No, 30. What the fuck is this stupid ass game? Explain. Somebody, explain.
Classic invisible forces beyond our comprehension. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to leave your suggestions below for which level I should tackle next. Peace.
Big special thanks to Sai, Temporal, Nick Gallagher, Nathan Hughes, and the rest of my patrons over on Patreon for making these videos possible at the rate that I'm making them. Y'all are the best.